Nintendo's E3 2018 presentation is less than a month away, and there are many surprise announcements for games that I'd love to see at this show. There are so many franchises of games that Nintendo has that I think would work perfectly on the Nintendo Switch, and that's what I'm going to be going over today. I'm not going to be talking about previously announced games because they're probably going to be appearing at the show anyways. These are entirely new ideas for games here that I think would be amazing to see, and I invite you to leave some games that you want at E3 in the comment section down below. Alright, so getting right into this, the first game that I want to talk about today is a Mario RPG game. This could be either a Mario and Luigi title, or something along the lines of the Paper Mario series. I know that Nintendo is wavering back and forth on whether or not they want to make Paper Mario games regular RPGs anymore, but come on Nintendo, everybody prefers Paper Mario the way that it used to be back in the first two installments, so I'd love to see it that way again. But if Nintendo really just doesn't want to go the Paper Mario route this time around, then I could see us getting a Mario and Luigi game on the Nintendo Switch. This one would probably release later into 2019 though, as a Bowser's Inside Story remake for the 3DS is already confirmed to release in 2019, and I would presume that that would be released in early 2019, considering that it was revealed in a March 2018 Nintendo Direct. But why do I really want one of the Mario RPGs to show up on the Switch? Well, I would love to see the graphical capabilities of the Mario and Luigi games increase when being put on a home console, because those games are so much fun to be played on the go, and I'd love to see the graphical upgrade. Paper Mario, on the other hand, has always been on home consoles, and it would be fun to take those games on the go. So there is benefits for both of those franchises, one mainly being on portable devices, and one being on home console devices, to be put on the Switch. There will be a new experience no matter which one of them ends up getting put onto the system. And if you've never played a Mario RPG, you probably wouldn't realize the distinct appeal that those games have compared to some other RPGs. The characters and the humor, it's all so unique to those series. It just makes them really fun to go through. The combat system is also generally action-based as well, so there are many inputs that you'll have to watch for as you're playing throughout the game to make sure that you get your attack to maximum damage. Some enemy attacks will also have to be avoided through your skill, which is something that I really enjoy. It diversifies the combat further from normal RPGs, as in those, it's generally wait for your opponent to attack, take the attack, or leave it up to RNG, whereas in this instance, it's mainly about your skill level as to whether or not you take a significant amount of damage from your opponent's attack. And that is an element that I love in a Mario RPG. The next game that I want to talk about today is a top-down Zelda game, more commonly referred to as the 2D Zelda titles. We got Breath of the Wild on the Nintendo Switch, an amazing refinement of the Legend of Zelda series, but I'd love to see it go back to its roots on the system, because top-down perspective Zelda games definitely have a distinct appeal about them that isn't captured by the 3D ones. Both of them offer different experiences, I love them both, but I would really like to see a 2D one implemented onto the system, considering that nowadays they're mainly implemented on the portable Nintendo systems, rather than the home consoles as it was in its original inception. Nowadays, the home consoles are usually for the 3D Zelda titles, but again, as with that Mario RPG bit that I just talked about, the Switch is the combination of the portable and the home console. So there is a benefit to putting the 2D Zelda games onto the Switch, because with the 3DS eventually going to go away, there won't be an opportunity to put those games on there anymore. A Link Between Worlds was an amazing Zelda title on the 3DS, and it brought back the 2D Zelda games. And I think an HD one would have great visuals, more a cartoony style of course, considering that it utilizes Toon Link as opposed to the realistic styled Link that we got in Breath of the Wild. And it would still probably look really good, considering that it is a Legend of Zelda title, and those titles generally look very visually appealing. Some of the quests and missions within those top-down perspective Zelda games are so fun to go through, and the satisfaction that you receive when solving one of those puzzles is just incredible. I'd love to see it on the Switch, and at E3 2018. Continuing on with 2D variations to video game franchises, how about a new 2D Mario title at E3? We just got Super Mario Odyssey, an amazing 3D open world style Mario game, which has incredibly big worlds that you could explore through. But some people do miss the linearity of some of the Mario titles. Super Mario 3D World is criticized frequently for not being the more open world style, free roaming Mario game of, say, Super Mario 64 and Sunshine and Odyssey, where you could sort of do things in the order that you please. Whereas some people do enjoy the linearity. Some people like having a set objective in every single level, that it's a goal that you just strive towards. And that's really where the 2D Mario titles shine. That is what they're excellent at providing to the consumer. You know, there are collectibles within the levels in 2D Mario games, but the main goal of them is so that you get to the flagpole at the very end, overcome the challenges within the level, whereas in a game like Super Mario Odyssey, the goal is to discover various moons within the level. Say a 2D Mario game would be based around finding the star coins within the level, but it's not. It's about going to the objective. Super Mario Odyssey is sort of an opposite concept to that, and those contrasting styles both have their pros and negatives about them, which is why I think they should both be implemented on the Nintendo Switch for people who prefer one style to the other. Now I'd just like to touch base on the comparison of whether we should get a new 2D Mario game as opposed to getting a port of Super Mario Maker onto the Switch, because I know a lot of people like creating their own 2D Mario levels in Mario Maker as opposed to simply playing the levels that are created by Nintendo. 2D Mario games, I know this was sort of lost when the new Super Mario Bros. Thing started, but before that, they all had their own distinct appeals from each other, and they all had different unique components within them that differentiated them between each other. Unique components that made you want to play the game, to discover what new power-ups, new enemy concepts, new concepts for terrain and level design would be implemented. But as we got the new Super Mario Bros. Titles, that all sort of became uniform. It all sort of became similar to each other. So, there was less adventuring that had to be done in order to discover these new things within the game. In order to have more fun with the different concepts, that wasn't really implemented as often, because if you played one of the new Super Mario Bros. Titles, you'd be familiar with almost all of the core gameplay mechanics as you would when playing another one. Wall jumping, all this kind of stuff is all within the same new Super Mario Bros. Styles. If we were to get a normal 2D Mario game again, it would have to completely change up the concepts, because I don't think that after the initial release of Super Mario Maker and the port to the 3DS, that a new Super Mario Bros. Title would be able to exist anymore in this market, where you could basically recreate those similar levels in Super Mario Maker. However, you wouldn't be able to recreate levels with an entirely new gameplay style. That is what I would want from a new 2D Mario game. That's sort of how I feel about this. I've made other videos on this topic in the past, though. Another game that I'd love to see at E3, this is sort of a less popular choice, I would think, because it's not nearly as popular as Mario or Zelda or something like that. Then again, very few Nintendo franchises are that popular, but this one is Kid Icarus. Now, this is another title developed by Masahiro Sakurai. Now, it's currently unknown as to how much he is investing his time into the new Super Smash Bros. Release under the Nintendo Switch, because if he is really heading up the development of that game and isn't just in a supervising role, as some people are speculating that he is, then that would probably take a big toll on him, and he wouldn't have the time to develop another game in his free time. Kid Icarus was originally a title on the NES in the 80s, and then it got revived on the Nintendo 3DS, as it was intended to be a Star Fox title, but Sakurai wanted to turn it into something different, and he resurrected this old game and provided an amazing product. Kid Icarus Uprising finally provided something different to the pretty stagnant amount of releases on the 3DS at the time, because there wasn't much content going out on the 3DS at the time that Uprising was actually released. So it was really good and refreshing to have that release on the system. And it was finally a breath of fresh air, a relatively new gameplay concept with innovative, yet some people dislike them, controls. I think on the Nintendo Switch, there's better opportunities to have more refined controls and standardized controls that everybody would sort of be interested in and could enjoy using. Because just ask Star Fox Zero how controls could ruin your game's release. Again, it's all dependent on Sakurai's involvement in Smash Bros. As to whether or not Kid Icarus even has a chance of releasing on the Nintendo Switch either late this year or next year, because that would be when it would release, depending on its reveal at E3 2018, because most Nintendo games after their reveal generally have a closer release period after they're announced. We don't generally have to wait a few years for the titles to come out, although there are the odd exceptions to this, such as Breath of the Wild and presumably Metroid Prime 4. So if Sakurai isn't working on Smash Brothers, there is a chance that he might want to provide another Kid Icarus title to us. I see some people speculating online that maybe it would just be a port of Kid Icarus Uprising to the Nintendo Switch, as you would still have to develop a new engine to put it on the system, so they figure it would be much easier for Sakurai and his team to just port the same game over while still developing the new engine before you want to create a brand new storyline for the Kid Icarus title, because it would probably take a lot of resources to develop that engine for the title. Game number 5 that I want to be talking about today, this is a very highly requested title, Animal Crossing Switch. We haven't got a new main Animal Crossing title since New Leaf on the 3DS. We definitely need a new one on the Nintendo Switch, and that is just what I'm going to be talking about for a little bit here. If there was a good thing about Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, it would definitely be its visuals. It was a very nice looking game in my opinion. And on the Nintendo Switch, you could take the Animal Crossing world that you create in a main series title, along with all of the mini games, all of the incredible personalities provided by the villagers within the Animal Crossing town, and you would be able to have those fantastic visuals implemented onto the Nintendo Switch, and even with those great visuals, you would still be able to take them on the go. Come on, Nintendo, we need something like this. The closest thing we have to Animal Crossing on the Switch right now is the track in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And honestly, I know a lot of Animal Crossing fans are losing hope, but I think it's inevitable that Animal Crossing is going to come to the console because it's a big moneymaker for Nintendo. I just hope that when it actually does come to the Switch, that it's not one of those microtransaction-based games that Amiibo Festival is turning into, as they recently added a loot box sort of system to the game. I don't know the very specifics about that, although I do know that some sort of loot box system is being added to that, and many people aren't very happy about it, to say the least. I don't think Nintendo would put a microtransaction system like that into one of their main Animal Crossing titles, but you never know with the game industry as it is today. The last title that I want to talk about in this video is a new Mario Party game. This is a game that I've talked about in previous videos, and I would just love to see a new Mario Party on the Nintendo Switch with the great visuals that we got in Mario Party 10, plus the revival of the old style of game modes that we had in titles 1 through 8. There have been some successful endeavors with this new gameplay style, however I much prefer it, along with I'd say the majority of Nintendo fans prefer it in the original style of Mario Party. It's a very chill, relaxed idea of Mario Party, and you know what, if you want to implement those other styles, fine, do it, but just make it a separate mode. You could have the mode where everybody rolls at once, like in the modern 3DS titles, and you could have the mode where everybody's in the car. I don't care. As long as the original style is in the game, and you provide options for us, I don't think anybody's going to be upset about their inclusion. But if you want to hear more about my extended thoughts on Mario Party coming to the Switch and why it needs to come to the console, click the link on the left side of the screen. And if you're interested in what I think will be revealed at E3 2018 for the new Super Smash Bros. Title, click the link on the right side of the screen. Remember to subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you next time.